Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This one today is going to be another one of the tournament games here. We're getting into a lot of the rookie games, so it could either be very boring or they might just surprise us and show some interesting and entertaining antics. And today it's Darth Kraken versus Briggs here, so they're starting things off on Landmass. And not too much food, I don't think. A couple of lumps, some berries, a couple of nerfs. It's not too bad. I maybe need a couple of farms before T2. But let's see how it goes. I'm going to need to get the timer up because it's gone walkabouts. Having the game time in the top left. It also tells me the game speed. We can click up and down this. And we want to go a little bit quicker just to make it through the early game anyway. This is a really nice spot here for a food processor because you've got these shorefish as well. And other than hunt, these are like the fastest gather rate of food, these shorefish. And you get like 200 a pop, so they're very, very nice. You should probably eat the AOPs first though, just because they're a bit quicker. And looking around, we've got the berries here for Darth Kraken. And in case the names throw anyone, it just means that Granuli and John were co-opt, so they played on the same colour just so that they could watch the game. So I think they both resigned at the start so that they can see the whole map. That's just how sort of people spectate these games. So both players will be thinking about getting a carbon processor soon, I imagine. And then plan the rest. This is really sucky. That one's not too bad, but this one's like right behind the carbon. You never want that because it's basically adding this entire length of this carbon to your luring journey, which adds like maybe 1 or 2, sometimes 3 auto attacks that the lureable animal's going to place onto your worker before it arrives at your command center. He's just getting housed here. Briggs getting housed. Anytime you get housed, you probably want to build with like 3 workers because it just takes so long to get the prefab. Now, those berries went quickly. A map like that, you definitely want to start with the full lumps just because you're going to save yourself a little bit of carbon in the early game. That's a bit lazy. I'm going to lure those. They're already jumping into farms without eating all the food. It's sort of very inefficient. You would maybe need like 4 of these max just in the last bits of tech level 1. But yeah, I'm sure people will get there and start working on these things. The more optimal you can play your tech level 1, the just better you set yourself up for the rest of the game. Because this just feels, this is super inefficient, right? When you can just lure it to the command center for 1 worker. So these guys would already be at like 10, 12 food. And then all that walking distance for 1/3 of what they can carry. There's the other one as well. Let's see how these guys are getting on here. So even sort of worker counts. So nobody's made like any glaring errors. As long as they're building workers, you know, they're doing okay. The rest of it's just efficiency and like how much resources you could have surplus to the amount you need to make workers and go T2 to play with. What are these guys up to? Nova processor. Looks like both players may be thinking about going T3 rather than rushing. I'm sure people get quite nervous playing these games as well, because they won't have much experience doing it, and RTS games, because you know they're very competitive in their nature. And when you're having little tournament games like that, and people can see the results and stuff, it just gets a bit of nerves in you. It's really bizarre some of the decision making these workers make with the food drop off. I guess it's determined by where he's actually standing when he hits his maximum amount, because sometimes he's going to this food processor and sometimes he's going to the command center. So they're both T2. Tech building going down. Oh, a troop center and a power core. Going quite late here for Daft Kraken. He's having to research trooper. But he could start rallying them. Question is, keeping an eye on what his opponent's doing. He's seen the Nova. Not seeing much else. And he's not ready for this like extra building of units, because he's got himself housed as well, so probably be at about 5 troopers now and sent them off to harass Briggs over here. He's got a bit of a cool looking wall started, he just needs to close it up, right? Like a light wall and like 2 prefabs here, and about the same here as well. But the troops are on their way, and worried for Briggs here, not getting his wall closed. He is on his way to T3, it looks like he's definitely been working on this, he's gotten a bit better with that. But he just needs to finish off the wall. A second mech factory. That is slightly ambitious. I think this would be much better. If we look at Briggs' resources, he's got a lot of Nova, a lot of food. I think this would be better, like this carbon just saved for an airbase when he hits T3. And the great thing about the airbase is it's going to make things much more uncomfortable for the opponent who's locked in T2. Because you're putting a demand for 2 different types of units out of them. So like Grenadiers or anti-air troopers. To sort of deter the Tech 3 units you're going to throw at them. Things that you can do in these scenarios when there's troops on you is you can just place like prefabs here, and you can just like make sure that they have to walk a really horrible path where they're going to like take a lot of attrition damage going past the command center with all the beams that's hitting it. Now Briggs can really get all these workers back to work rather than just sitting here idle here. It looks like he's lost the troopers when they're just sort of sitting here. You just can't quite see that, and he's searching with the strike mech here. They could run in and get some kills, catch him off guard. The mech factory is still sitting there uncompleted. But I don't think he really needs a second mech factory when he's barely using the first one, because that sat idle for about like 2 rotations. And he can't really afford to make out of both of them unless he buys carbon with a spaceport. Which he could do, and he could overrun his opponent really quickly with a lot of strike mechs. That would certainly have some decent value for him here, because the Nova's just doing nothing for him. He doesn't have a war center to spend it on upgrades, and he doesn't have an airbase to spend it on units. So he gets here, and a good turret placed by Kraken. Decent sort of wall here. His carbon feels quite protected. The only problem is if strike mechs stand behind it, as you can see. Briggs is probably focused on a lot of other things. Oh, and he just snuck in here and killed a lot of the workers like we talked about before. This one's rallying to his death. And he's building the airbase now. It looks like he did use that spaceport and he bought a ton of carbon. He's built the airbase now. But a lot of workers going down. But on the same side, he's killed some here in Kraken's base. But Kraken's made it to T3, he's getting the second command center, which is going to be great in this instance because they both need to recoup their losses here, but I think Kraken's probably ahead in the workers by quite a bit because an awful lot went down at this carbon. You can just see all the little carbon packs decaying into the ground there. Now the air coming across, Kraken did make some anti-air, and for one fighter that's going to be plenty. You could just garrison this worker rather than lose it, but not quite managing to do that. But having the second command center is really nice, especially when he's getting air harassed, because he can just garrison the workers when they get attacked and wait for the anti-air to get into position. There's only one air base, so you might not necessarily need to freak out and build turrets. Sometimes nice to have like just one turret though, so you've got like a retreat point for your anti-air troopers in case the air tries to take a trade with them. Now both players kind of been a bit passive. This guy's rallying this strike mech in, but having seen like 2-3 mech destroyers, he should really not do that anymore. It's not going to be worth it for him. There's not really any opportunities for him to do damage now. I think for both players this kind of has to shift into getting a decent standing army together of like mech destroyers and getting out on the map. And being landmass, you kind of want the centre of the map, right? And for Sky here, this ore is almost up for contention. Kraken could walk up and place like a fortress here, keep him in his sort of base, and he would control this whole area, so it's like you'd have to go all the way around to harass him. And then you'd have enormous pressure onto this Nova. And as you can see, there's not a lot of Nova on this map. I think they basically just got one pile each, and then there's just one over here. So having pressure here, you would stop your opponent having a lot of options in T3 and then later in T4 in terms of the tech and the units that they can build. Jedi Temple now should be quite good, especially if this game stays passive and you can grab up some of the holocrons, because as we talked about, there's not a lot of Nova on the map. And having those holocrons ticking away, generating just free Nova out of nowhere, making a great little boost. And it can make the difference in text quite impactful on ones like this when you can't quite afford everything for, say, like your mechs. But when you've got the extra Nova generating there, you could get some of those big beneficial upgrades. And being Gungans, there's quite a few. There's a lot of percent HP upgrades in the mech factory for them. And then of course you've got the War Center ones, the range, the damage. So double air base. You could definitely catch him off guard with this. He's not a lot on Nova though. Can afford some of these units. It says I'm watching him, but I'm not. It's only making out of one of the air bases. Does Briggs have any air left? That's interesting. I see Kraken just sort of scouting around his map, maybe looking for extra resources, seeing what's what, alternative paths, etc. It's a good decision, making these sentry posts around to keep an eye on things. It's very good. You could probably see your units run past this way if they went round to harass him. I think this being Gungans and Gungans, like the biggest strength that you get is actually the Fortress unique unit, the Famba. The Famba is so strong in early T3, well, most of the way through T3, right? Just because it's a mobile shield, but what you might not realise is it's got a ton of armour, and a lot of the units in T3 just can't do a good amount of damage to it. So playing into making like a standing army of mechs and pushing forward and grabbing up these locations with a fortress, it can be such a strong play. And then the Gungans have got really good artillery as well. So when you make a lot of artillery in T3 and you scale into T4, you can upgrade them quite a bit and get a huge amount of value out of them. And those Fambas work quite well with the trooper line, so getting the repeater troopers with a range. You can sort of double their HP and make up for that the fact like the other civs tend to get like a lot of health for their troopers. Like the ones like Confederacy, Rebels, Rookies. The Gungans don't get that, they just get the extra range, but with the Famba shield generator, you know, doubling the health, it's about the same, or just a little bit more. And then you've got that range advantage. So you're pushing up here for Sky Briggs, and he's grabbing up those holocrons slowly but surely. I don't know if he's gotten one yet. This might be his first one. No, he's got. This will be his second one, so that's really good for him. He's got a couple of units out here, but what I'm worried for is look at the amount of units the Kraken's built up. And it's just off of one mech factory. Whereas Briggs has got two, and he's only got two mech destroyers. But he's hoarding a lot of money, and I think his issue is just that he needs to be spending the resources that he's got, because they're not doing him any good just sitting there. And he just doesn't have a whole lot of anything. Whereas we've got some really good upgrades here for Kraken and quite a lot of mech here. What's in this transport? Oh, he's off getting the hollows. And he's pushing up now because he's pretty much just sort of sensed the weakness there from Briggs. And looking at the score, it seems that Kraken's really taken big advantage of the economic lead he got off killing all those workers. And there's a decent amount of command centers for Briggs, but I just think he's probably not hitting all of his benchmarks here because he's probably falling behind in workers quite a bit. 63.52, is that really it? Oh, it seems so dramatic though. Oh, there's just huge differences though. Let's have a quick look. Oh, what am I doing? There's no motivator, but the carbon upgrades. Might be a motivator difference. Yeah. So Briggs is just missing the upgrade, like the first motivator upgrade and the farm upgrades. And I think maybe a good amount of his workers have just come in like the last bit of game time as well. So Kraken's had his upgraded and a lot more, and that's just really paid off for him in terms of the resources he's generated, because I think he's about 5,000 carbon, 5,000 food ahead. And Briggs is getting a decent army together here, but he's only making this fortress with one worker. And his wall's kind of mucking him up here. And at an instance like this, you would have to retreat these units, and you would just delete your wall and you walk back through. But he's taking the trade here, and unfortunately he doesn't have any upgrades on his mechs, so it's quite a comfortable win here for Kraken. And he's grabbed up this area now. He's got control of this ore pile, and he's got to sort of buy in into Briggs's base. Maybe planning some sort of Gungan memes here. If you don't know, they've got very good boats. And you can make cruisers that have like crazy range. Making a frigate, which I don't think is really going to do too much for him here, but if he was on his way to T4 and he got like a couple of cruisers, he could pretty much shell like most of this base just from here. Because they get up to like a massive like 16 range or something like that. It is a lot of range. Could be 19, I can't remember. Many ranges though. Looks like he might get this fortune. No, these two frigates actually do quite a lot of damage to workers. This won't go up. And every time the workers get shot, they run back. And the only way to counter that is to just sort of spam click and spam move click, move click. It is nice for Briggs that he's running into this sort of choke here where he's got this turret helping out. And a lot of his units standing here in the back getting good shots off. There's a Famba now. And some heavy troopers. Be really nice, just needs to get his army together under the Famba, get the shield. Can make a little death ball actually, put like the frigates here as well. They could help out if there were any like Mounties and stuff running. And it looks like they're doing amazing against these mech destroyers, but I think this is really just the upgrades and the upgraded damage that they've got here. Because mech destroyers are a very decent counter to them. He made a couple of Padawans when he's grabbing up the holocrons, he's upgraded them to knights, so he's getting in here and being annoying. Do some decent damage to these mechs. Is that like 5 hit kills? 2, 3. Yeah, that was 6. It does attack quite quickly though. What these units are up to. Maybe being a little bit wasteful here with the army, but it's not too big of a deal if he's just outproducing his opponent, right? And it looks like he's still managing his eco a little bit here. He's got all this carbon income coming in. His new forest is grabbed up. But he's still in T3. Briggs has managed to get off to T4, but there's a lot of idols in his economy, and it's just not as strong. And half of it's just completely under the attack here from Kraken. That'd be excellent for him if he could get the fortress up. While he's fighting the units here, he could maybe sneak a couple of workers and build this. Because if he built this, he can hold for a while, because Kraken's still in T3. The artillery aren't enough to take down the fortress. He's got the heavy mech destroyer upgrade, but we're still missing like a lot of the war center ones. I think we've only just got the +1 range at the moment. There's a +2 range just about to finish. But there's not much of a standing army anymore. And these units are just getting that double health in the shield. As you can see, look at that 20/20 armor. That's why these are so strong in T3. And a lot of people sleep on them, I think. 1v1 is definitely like the biggest opportunity to use them very well. Yeah, I'm not really seeing much anymore out of Briggs. Maybe just having a little breather and thinking what's went wrong for him here. I think like if you look at his resources and what he's got access to right now, even some like assault mechs would be great, because I don't think they're too reliant on the upgrades, because I think they've just got tons of like bonus damage to units, so they would help him hold a lot better here, I think, because they counter a lot of these units. There's a few mech destroyers, but he has a couple of himself that he can use to meet shield. But with not too much on the field now, these pummels are getting forward and yeah, they kill the buildings quite quickly with their headbutts. They're definitely the most fun to watch pummel in the game. And it's always cool when you can get some medics out and heal them as well, because they're biological. I never noticed this little forward he's made. He's killed quite a few workers. It's just not glaring at the minimap today. Been on some pressure, but yeah, I don't think like the base trade's really going to work out in this game. It's too much of a deficit to overcome. He's just lost too much, and yeah, he's got the pummel tech as well, and he's quite quick to get this heavy weapons factories down here. And there's not really anything he can make to contest it. He's making strike mechs right now, and that's definitely the wrong unit for it. There's some troopers as well coming out of Kraken, so he's got a good sort of response to this in terms of the units he's built. I think go and headbutt that power core down. It's just like every couple of seconds it does like 100 damage. Not really much else to say. I think this is pretty much over for Briggs here. GG called, and we'll move into the next one. Motherload. Lots of nerf. And it looks like both players got a very easy time walling this one. Briggs maybe the hard at this bit's kind of wide. And the Rancor is waiting on the Crate Dragon. These are extra nerfs. Yes. So these like groups of 5 are like extra nerf spawns on the map. Because you normally you get like 8 and then you get 4 and 4. So he's got like 8 here, 4, 4. And there's an extra 5 here. An extra 6 here, so it's like maybe between 5 and 6 that spawn. Another 5 here. And that must be his natural 4 down here. And in terms of the other food, we've got a dewback. And was it just a dewback? Just the dewback. Or 2 dewbacks. Yeah, that's pretty good going for both players. Like lots of food. But the question is, who's going to end up with all the extra nerfs? Because it could be quite a huge polarizing deficit. And it's looking like Kraken's gotten quite a lot now. It's up to about 23 nerfs, I think. 24. 24 nerfs. So that's more than enough to keep your command center going. He's not lured any food, but got a lot of workers on carbon. Both players could definitely do some sort of mounty antics on this map. It's because this is such a lot of food to generate for so little carbon invested. And I think he's going to get all the extra nerfs at this rate. Briggs again just not being too strong with Scout. He's been doing great with his luring here this game, but Scout needs to be out and about. So he's missing these nerfs. I don't know if Kraken's being a bit more sportsmanlike here and just sending them to his opponent, or that's the pathing that they've chosen. I feel like there's no way they decide to go around. But no, he's sending them back. He wants all the nerfs. Scratch that moment that we thought was a big sportsman-like gesture here. He's eager to have all the nerfs. There's still 5 up for grabs over here. I'm not sure about these prefab shelters you're building into your carbon lane. Much better wall on your base. Now, what's he going to do with all this eco he's getting? Oh, this is like, what is this crazy carbon? Does he try to like mine into the lake? It could be. Don't like it though, because it's like so out there and exposed. And it's really sort of setting up a tapestry of disaster here for him. You see, so almost proxy hidden troop center here for Kraken, which could definitely catch people off in this skill bracket off guard quite well. They're not going to have the intuition to know that there's something slightly off, but you know it could catch like good players off as well. But I just mean that they might have they might see some of the red flags in the base, right? Like think, where's all this carbon? You know, what's he doing with it? Whereas it just looks like there's nothing amiss to a lower skill player or a lower experienced player. And now double troop center here. pumping out some troopers. I mean, we can scratch all that talk anyway at the moment because Briggs has just not even scouted Kraken yet. He's just about to now. Sees his T2. Briggs is almost T2. He's got a lot of res to play with. You know, he could drop 2 turrets if he knows, but Kraken's built up a lot of troopers, and I think they're just going to run in. And this being a very exposed carbon, he's not going to get any line of sight of this army before it hits him. So at least if his carbon was built up here safely, his prefab shelters, etc., I would say he had his command center to shoot at them a little bit, and he could get 2 turrets down. But in this instance, I think he's just going to walk into the carbon, kill all these workers. Or just contradict me and go to like a completely bizarre place in the base. Okay. So he's sneaking up this way. He got into the Nova. So he's got time to build turrets because he's taken this path. Mountie now here on his unit. It's a lot for him to respond to at this instance. The troops coming in here, the Mountie. Not seeing any sort of response yet, to be honest. I don't know if he's just maybe just tilted by this. Because we're not drop turrets. These workers are just still just sitting here. It's almost like he's AFK. Try to build the mag factory up here. Be very tilting to have like 2 nurseries and see your opponent has 4 in a 1v1. So that's like 35 nerfs to 16, 18. It's an 18 nerf map. Needs to delete this spacebar. All these Mounties that have been built though, because he's just got so much food. It won't be long before Kraken can go T3 as well. A bit of a shame that one, bit of an anticlimactic end, but just a bit of bad luck and a poor decision getting punished. This can make quite a dramatic loss now. Quite a pronounced loss. There's not really any way out of this. He's on his way to T3, but down to 15 workers. And then the nurseries will get like meleeed down as well, and then there's no food income. Let's check out mag factory and the power going here. If anyone's in a situation like this and they might actually be able to, you know, climb it back, you'd be better to just make 2 air bases here. Because you don't have to micro the air. The units can't attack it. The strike mechs would have to micro their absolute hearts out to kill all these heavy Mountie troopers. And now that he sees 1 strike mech, he knows that this is here, and he's just going to come flying in and kill the power core. And you can't really stop it, because there's so much downtime with the strike mechs. At least with the fighters, they're just constantly hitting the Mounties and taking no damage. Gets another power core up, but the strike mechs are just not gonna work out. Looking around, Kraken should be on his way to T3, absolutely. You have tons of resources. And that's kind of it, I think. PC goes down. It's tenacious, building a spaceport now. Try to get some more res. Look at all these heavy Mounties. Onto the command center now. He's certainly doing Briggs a favour by not going for the nurseries first. Cut the food income off. and call it GG there. So I think it'll be a quick look there. It's gonna be such a huge swing in resources there because of everything. Yeah, just a huge lead because of all the nerfs. But anyway, as I said, these games can be a little bit boring, sometimes very entertaining, just because of the differences and the skills. I think it could be quite pronounced as well, because these players might be really good at some things, but missing some of the fundamentals, which, you know, in games like this can make the losses quite pronounced. But if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not. There's going to be more GBG content. We're going to keep following these games. And you'll find a link to the Discord for our GBG community there if you want to come and get involved and keep an eye when people are playing games on Voobly. It's just a lot easier to keep everyone together because the game's not that active, so it needs that little extra bit of organisation rather than just organic organisation by everyone just being logged into Voobly at one time. And I'll see you guys in the next video, so have a good day. Bye bye.